All right, good morning. How's everyone? It was so cold this morning, right? Like, yeah, it was chilly. Like, I love it. Like, but I was like, oh, it's kind of cold, and then it's supposed to rain again tomorrow. I feel like I haven't been to soccer in forever because like the fields are too wet, so they won't let us go. It's like they will dry out so we can finish. We have 2 games left of our season, but we can't seem to get to them because the fields are too wet. Then it's gonna rain again tomorrow. I'm like, oh, it's okay. That's all right. Is anyone going anywhere next week at all for Thanksgiving? Working? Yeah. Well, it's hard because the college didn't give you any time off. So like there's no vacation. I feel like we should have a vacation. That's my box that I'm gonna stand on today, that we should have a vacation. But either way, I will see you next week. So from the beginning, like we talked about, I planned on missing Monday and Wednesday. My kids have the whole week off, so I'm taking Monday and Wednesday off. So I want to point out a couple of things really quickly. On Monday, since we're taking both days, I'm giving you a short assignment that is due on Monday. And so what will happen is there'll be an announcement that'll go out Sunday night, reminding you that we don't have class and that you have a homework assignment. Okay, so it's a little 1-page assignment on chapter 14. I think I wrote 11. So it's on chapter 14. And so it shouldn't take you very long to do, but it will be popping up on Canvas. So when you click on it, it'll say right here, participation number 9. So when you click on that, here's the homework assignment. So I just want to show you what that looks like really quickly, since I won't see you next week. But literally all you'll be doing is picking 2 disorders related to sex and gender. You're going to give me like a little description and then the causes and treatments. Still processing. Please try again later. Okay, hold on. Fine, I'll show you in a different way. All right, hold on. Show you here. I'll find a way around it. There you go. Okay, so this is what it looks like, right? So it'll say chapter 14 homework assignment. So you'll pick a disorder, you'll give me a little description, causes and treatment, and then you'll do the same thing for disorder 2, right? I would imagine it'd take you maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do at the most, but it's related to chapter 14, which I usually don't cover. I usually do it this way anyway. So make sure that you work on this on Monday when it will pop up on Canvas. So this announcement will go out on Sunday night just to remind you, and then that assignment will be due on Monday, right? So no class next week, but there is one little assignment. So I'll send out a message Sunday night to remind you of that. I also want to point out that if you're looking at the syllabus, kind of sad because we're really getting down to like the number of classes that we have left together. When we come back, we have 2 classes and a final, and that's it. And the final is online, so it's really just 2 classes, and that's it. Yeah. No, right. So the final exam is just a third test on everything from the last one. So if you're here, you can see here's the study guide for exam number 3. So these are the couple of things I wanted to point out. So the study guide for exam number 3, if you open this up, it'll show you it's just since the last exam. So chapters 13, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so it's all of the ones that we've covered since we took the last test. So just like with the other ones, make sure that you are preparing, that you know everything that's on there. I would probably write it out and have it in front of me, but it's up to you. So what'll happen is we'll take the final online. I'll talk more about that when we come back. There is a little closing assignment that you have due with the with that last week that we have, so that I didn't have to give you a cumulative final. So we are required to give you a cumulative element, but it doesn't have to be a test. So what I have is this little closing assignment, and I just want to go over it in case you wanted to work on it next week while you have a little extra time. All you're doing with this is reflecting back on all of the things that we've covered, and you're going to pick 5 things that you can apply to your life in some way and write about them. So it shouldn't, you're going to kind of follow like a very specific format. You'll give me a term, you'll define it, and then you'll tell me how you could apply it. So let's say, let's say that you, as we were going through this, you learned about like safe sex, right? Like using condoms, right? And so you could define what that means and then write about how it would help you in your life. Or you learned about like the fertile window and what that is, and now you know that like I should avoid having sex during my fertile window if I don't want to get pregnant, or have sex during the fertile window if I do want to get pregnant. So this is the closing assignment that's due, October, December 3rd. But if you wanted to work on it over break, it is here on campus. Okay, so just a couple of things. Again, I won't see you Monday or Wednesday, but you do have a little homework assignment. And if you wanted to work on this, it's here, the closing assignment that's due on December 3rd.
Honestly, like looking at the closing assignment, I feel like that would be probably like very simple because it would because honestly, it's very like this class is actually very easy to apply to modern day.
Good.
Modern day stuff. Like
I hope that you have more than 5 things you can take away. But hopefully there's at least 5 where you're like, okay, that like meant
I'll
something.
probably just put down 5. I'll probably just put down 5 because so I can like put more focus on like other.
Yep, that's all you need. Stuff. 5 things, yeah. No, you don't need more than that. So just 5. I also told you before, if you were interested, there's an extra credit, 20 points. Like if you missed some participations because you weren't here, or maybe you missed some points on an exam, there is that self-care and mindfulness extra credit that's on here. So just to kind of put all those things out there for you as you go into next week and potentially have a little extra time. I know this is a rough time of the semester where we're all just like trying to hang in there and get through to the end. But I wanted to point those things out while you were here with me. Are there any questions about any of those things, about next week, about like the final or the closing assignment, any of that kind of stuff? Anything for now? Favorite Thanksgiving food? Yeah. Stuffing? Really? That's low on my list.
It depends on the stuffing. If you get a nice stuffing with gravy on it.
See, I grew up, my mom was a horrible. Right? Horrible. So we would go to other people's houses for Thanksgiving. And so I think that's why I don't like stuffing. I didn't like turkey either. I remember when I first met my partner, I told her, and I was like, the turkey's pink. She said, don't eat it. Like, my family couldn't cook. What else? What else do you like to eat? Yeah.
Honestly, I just love it all.
I love it all.
Nice, traditional, warm, Thanksgiving.
Let's go. I'm ready right now.
No, sometimes it makes me sad that it's only acceptable to eat that once a year. Like sometimes I'll visit my grandma and it'll be like in the middle of May.
Yeah. Let's go. Why not?
Because it's unbelievable.
Life is short. You should have Thanksgiving. You should be thankful all the time. Right? We always do it for like Christmas too. Like my daughter, my oldest, my 13-year-old, for her birthday this year, she said she wanted Thanksgiving. And her birthday's in July. So I was all like, I get it. Like, and so we had like a full Thanksgiving on July 16th. It was amazing. But like, mine's in June. Let's do this every year. I like this. Yeah.
My therapist has this thing she makes each Thanksgiving, but it's like for after Thanksgiving. So
okay.
You take all of the leftovers. So you put stuffing on the bottom and then you layer mashed potatoes with cranberry sauce on top of it and then yams. And then you put it in the oven at 275 for 3 hours and it kind of turns into this like sort of like thick soup.
Okay.
That you can eat and
it's like all the flavors of.
Yeah, and she says that all of the people that she gives it to really like it.
Is she taking new clients? Like, I'm like, that sounds good. I'm like, girl, I'll come over, right? Anyone else? There was another, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think ham is massively underrated as food.
Totally.
Like, I like turkey. I only really like the dark meat on turkey, but like, if there's ham at Thanksgiving, that's mostly what I'll put a little turkey on there just for like custom sake, but like, I'm loading up on it.
You check the box, right?
Yeah.
We always do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every year my family makes these like amazing wontons. Like, as we fry them in a wok, and we have to make a lot, but they're really good.
Really good.
Like we go through them.
What time do you do dinner? And what's your answer? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That sounds delicious. There was somebody else, yeah.
Here,
Yeah. Nice.
Sometimes if my mom's feeling special, she'll make tamales for.
Yeah.
Yes, this must be like Christmas.
Oh, I love I love that. My apartment family is all like Mexican and they'll make like a massive feast for tomorrow. They had like Christmas. I'm like, well, we gotta go there like for sure. It's on my list. I'm ready for it. Anybody else? Things you're looking forward to? Mine are the desserts. I'm ready for desserts. Right. I love I'm not a big pie fan. But if I put enough whipped cream on it, I'll eat it. Like enough whipped cream on like I want to cover that pumpkin pie so like it's hiding underneath. And then I'm ready. Yeah.
I'm also not a pie fan, but like, give me a nice chocolate pie.
Yeah. Mm.
I'll eat one.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. We've been watching a lot of like cookie baking shows randomly, and I'm like, I'm ready to do some serious cookie baking next week, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we making the pies, like, this cheesecake.
Yes. You'll be busy.
Yeah.
You'll be busy. That sounds good though. Like I love baking is fun. Like it's
Yeah.
to me anyway, because you just eat all of it, you know. You have to make sure it tastes right and sample.
I love the baking.
Yeah, that's fair. I make my kids help me with that part. But yeah.
On Saturday, I'm gonna have friends and everything all.
Nice. Yeah.
All I wanna do the traditional like Thanksgiving meal, and then they're like, okay, you're gonna make a sure, yeah, it's easy, but like, it takes all day.
Yeah. Just kidding. Just kidding. Do a ham, or like we were saying, ham takes way less time. Yeah. Have it be like a big mishmash of everybody's favorites, right? There's something really fun about that too, because then you never know what you'll get.
I'll make cranberry sauce with it.
I like the cranberry sauce out of the can, just like the total generic, like out of the can.
I'll do the slice up.
Well, I will think of all of you. How about this? So there's not that many of you. I could eat a bite for each of you, no problem on Thanksgiving, right? So wait for it, it's coming. But I'll miss you all next week, but I hope you have, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope that you have a delicious meal or meals, right? It's never too early to have the practice meal. I mean, practice meals are perfect. All right, so we'll talk about chapter 17 today, but I think it's important to talk about food too. My therapist yesterday told me to practice self-care. And she's like, so what that means for you is go home and have a nice big piece of cake. And I was like, well, I would hate to not listen to my therapist's advice, right? Like, I don't want to be a bad client. I went home and had 2 pieces of cake. I excelled at self-care. And there's more self-care for me to have left tonight. So I'm feeling like I did great with my therapy. Anyway, I'll move on now. I'll move on from food. Sorry. Okay, so we were talking last time, chapter 16, we talked about varieties of sexual expression. And as one of those, we talked about pedophilia. We talked about coercive paraphilias, things that were against somebody's consent. Okay, and that's kind of the topic here, right? And, you know, like trigger warning a little bit, like we are talking about things that are a little heavier, but we won't get into any of them in a way that it will be like beyond like academic. But talking about a couple of these like different types of sexual coercion and instances where somebody has been like victimized in some way. Now, this could be anything from like sexual harassment to like your consent being violated to not being able to give consent. This can manifest in a lot of different ways, but you're either have been coerced, you've been deprived of choice in some way, you've had some kind of form of like sexual violence where your consent has been violated. And we talked a lot about consent, so did the guest speaker, but we'll talk about it a little bit more today. That's a really big piece of this chapter. Like, what is consent and what are the barriers to consent? So one of the most common types of like sexualized violence or SA, sexual assault, is rape, right? So SA or rape, unwanted vaginal, oral, or anal penetration through the use of physical force or threats, or if somebody's under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Okay, so alcohol and drugs are a barrier to consent. You aren't in your right mind, so you aren't able to give consent the way that you would if you weren't under the use of a substance. So it's a really big piece of consent that it has to be a conscious mind and body alignment of both partners where you have a willingness, or almost you can even say an excitement to have sex. Okay, so I have a little video that I want to play for you. It's the same girl who talked about the different fetishes. So again, like a mix of flippancy and information. I think she does a kind of balance of that. But she talks a little bit about what is consent and what it can look like as well, like verbal and nonverbal cues of consent. And I think it's a really important like thing to note when it comes to this topic. So let me play that for you. And then to watch her give those like nonverbal or sometimes verbal cues. I think they're really important. Oops, sorry, wrong one. To see like the yes, that enthusiastic, like yes, the body language indicating yes and body language indicating no. The consent is a really big part of this chapter, right? And it should be a big part of sexuality in general. Consent when you're both willing, you're both interested, you're both like into it, and you don't have any of these barriers present. Like she mentioned some of these and then just a few more. In California, the age, as we were talking about last time, is 18. Okay, so you have to be 18 years old to be able to legally give consent. Intimidation or fear, or if somebody has a power dynamic over you, right? So if they're your boss or they're your superior in some way, or you have some kind of dynamic where they hold power, it's not an even playing field. Yeah.
There's this very interesting book that I don't agree with, by the way, but it's by Andrea Dworkin. It's called Intercourse, and she posits that because men have power over women in society, all heterosexual sex is unhealthy.
Interesting. Okay. Right. That's a big stance to take. Right. But dealing with that, I thought of like a power dynamic, right? If you're not on the same playing field, then it's thought that like it is a violation of your consent. And that happens in relationships too, of like, well, I make all the money, so you owe me, right? Like that power dynamic, maybe on a lesser level. Interesting. Sounds interesting. Force or threat, someone forces you, threatens you, right? You're under like threat of harm or actual harm. If you're under the use of a substance, right? So she talked about that. If you're drunk, right? Or if you're unconscious or passed out, or the use of a drug, that makes it where you can't give that active consent. And there are kind of 4 different types of like sexual assault that we often like break it down to. Interestingly, it's most often somebody that you know. The whole like stranger rape it's like one of the least common. It's often somebody that is an acquaintance of yours. That is the most like prevalent and frequent by a mile. It's often like someone who is known to you in some way, whether it's like a coworker, a friend, or a relative. But in all of these cases, your consent has been violated. Now, a couple of things about like prevalence and characteristics. Really hard to get accurate like data on this. Why would it be hard to get accurate data on the prevalence of sexual assault? Yeah.
There's a really big stigma around sexual assault.
Yeah.
So victims can often feel guilty or ashamed for it having happened to them. And then also if it's an acquaintance that they care about,
Yeah.
they don't want that person to get in trouble for it, even if they went through it.
Yeah, right. So they don't want them to get in trouble. They feel guilty. They feel shame. Those are a lot of really big reasons why somebody might not report it. Yeah.
This is only an issue in some areas, but there are some like policing districts where actually it is incentivized to like lower the amount of like quote unquote like violent crime.
Okay.
Like to like try and like lower the numbers to make it look better.
Right.
This is like kind of an issue that like some areas have, like just with the system that like the like crime is tracked on.
Mhm.
And actually there are some areas where it's like police, there have been issues where police will like see like a rape happen and they'll try and downgrade it to like a lesser crime
Yeah.
in order to make it look better.
Like a systemic, like we don't want that to reflect on our area, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think of any other reasons? Yeah.
Some people don't realize they've been raped.
Yes. Later.
And then you can't, depending on where you are, at least especially patient is higher, but you can't really report it about rape.
After that much time has passed, right? Well, it could be right. That was my boyfriend, and I didn't think that counted, right? Or another really big one I hear about is like fear, right? Like that they'll retaliate or do something to you. Like, what if I report it, like they might come after me and hurt me again, right? In some way. There's a lot of reasons that people don't report like these like incidences. Yeah,
Not with my, shit, sorry.
that's right.
No,
Go ahead, and then I'll go back to Owen. Go ahead.
That reminded me of a song, it's called Street Fight Gospel, about, a teenage boy who, like, gets with an older woman. Very, like, he brags about it to his friends a lot. even
Sure.
though She's, like, way older than him, like, coercive, but he feels this sort of, like, oh, I'm the first of my friends to lose my virginity, I can get with any woman I want, but then eventually when she moves away and he's an adult, he realizes what she did.
Yeah, right. And the impact of that, just how complicated the layers to it with that. There's a lot of different layers to what is going on in that situation, right? Yeah. Did you have a thought too? No? Change your mind? Okay, yeah. No, that's all right.
I know this girl, but I know of this girl.
Sure.
And she was talking to this guy. And, they were like flirting, yes. I might have that type of relationship, but it was nothing the same. They had found themselves alone in the bedroom, and she's very tiny. He was very, a lot bigger than
Sure.
and he wanted to have sex, and she did not want to. At all, but she did not want to accept it, and she did not see with him, or help with him, anything. And he would not stop asking me, he kept, asking me, begging me, asking me, and like coerced her. And she eventually gave in. Now, she went to, she reported it because she did not want to have sex and we didn't until not force himself onto her, but like, coerced her.
Yeah.
And that was like a whole legal thing. But yeah, that was an example of that.
Yeah.
He's like, it's kind of like gross because he is wrapping people around his knee, making them think that she's crazy. Because he's like showing them messages of me flirting, this and that.
Right.
Now,
Well, like she was into it then, but like, right. And then like kind of distorting it.
is that great situation?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. No, I could see that, right? And like, oftentimes just all of those, again, all of the little pieces to it of like, well, you were his girlfriend, or like, well, you were into it when you were flirting with him, you gave him mixed messages. Like she was saying in the video, it can be retracted at any time. Just because you're into someone doesn't mean that you are up for everything with that person. Did you want to add or do you have?
I'm just like realizing that, my ex, I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
And sucks.
Yeah, well, and like badgering someone over and over and over again until they give in is a form of coercion, right? And like we tend to maybe not always view it that way, but it is, right? And again, like it often is more of an act of power than anything else. It's an act of like control and power, often much more than it is actually about sex. Most typically, this is perpetrated by men between the ages of 16 and 24. Now, men can be raped too. Okay, now that's a big stereotype that men can't be like, well, of course, like he wouldn't say no, right? Like that's a big like stereotype. But men can be physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, and those are even way more underreported because of all the like stigma and stereotype that would come with that. Well, what do you mean you didn't want it? Or like you let her overpower you? All of those kind of like things make it even more likely that a man might not report an instance of sexual violence. Yeah.
So, it can happen where like you sort of like you don't want to like you could overpower the person, but like you don't want to hurt them, and so you
Sure.
sort of just like freeze up and kind of disassociate while like they're doing whatever they're doing to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it can be like because you didn't like that person didn't like fight back, even if they were like technically capable of
Sure.
fighting back. It can seem like they were
Mhm.
the victim.
Right, right. That, well, you could have easily pushed them off of you if you really didn't want it or whatever, right? But oftentimes when people are in like a traumatic situation, they shut down instead of fighting back, or instead of like, it's one of the like fight or flight or freeze, right? It's not uncommon for someone to freeze in a moment of like trauma. Not uncommon for drugs to be part of like sexual assault, right? Whether it's like older, like drugs like Rohypnol or GHB or like ketamine, alcohol by itself. Really interesting. There's I have the website, it's undercover colors or something like that.com. They have this new nail polish, and this is becoming more and more popular, but it's also been more and more available. They have this clear nail polish that you can put on your fingers. And then if you dip your finger in a drink, it will change color if there's anything in the drink that like are any of these substances in there. Because oftentimes what you see is in like a bar situation or like a party where there's open drinks, someone might slip something into a drink. And so these like nail polish things are really becoming quite popular. You can just dip your finger in it and it will change color as a way of just like detecting if there's a substance in there. Yeah.
I have a question. So, when somebody's under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
Someone,
It could be. Yeah. Mhm.
the ball
Yeah. And that's where it gets tricky.
back out, 14 shots deep,
Right.
and they fall.
So kind of like she was saying, like sex is an intentional act, right? It doesn't just happen. Like it involves like intention and action. And so I think that that makes it really tricky. And then what if they're both underage on top of it, right? Like we say 18. I mean, we're kidding her. The average age that people engage in sexual behavior for the first time is like 16 to 17 years old. Like a lot of people who are 16, 17 are having sex. So we all of a sudden get these situations where people are both drunk, right? In which case it might be like that there's no charges brought against either party because both parties are kind of culpable in a way, like have some guilt in it. It gets so situation by situation in cases where like both people are drunk, or one is like 17 and one is 16, or like there's a drug involved in it. Like it just, there have been cases where people who were at a party, like somebody else gave them the drug and they ended up having sex with each other, but like neither of them remember it. It gets so messy. It involves substances and age and so on. Yeah.
I remember one time in high school, like at a party, there was this one guy who was like, "Oh yeah, this girl is drunk, but she's texting me and she really wants to have sex with me. So I'm gonna get drunk because he thought that would like make
Right, like it would nullify it. So
Yeah,
It does, right?
But it's kind of like both very like uncomfortable yet also like it's kind of fucked up on many levels because like it's like, oh, you're also putting yourself in a like, oh,
Yeah.
you're also putting yourself in a horrible situation.
Right, but it's kind of that idea of like, well, if I was drunk too, then it's blurry.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still
but then again, it's still like kind of cool for you.
that.
Right.
Or you're even
Well,
drunk.
if you admitted it to other people that that was your intention, which then it's documented, right, in
Yeah.
some way. So yeah, does it get more complicated when both parties are under the influence? Definitely.
Yeah,
But it's still an intentional act that had to be committed by somebody, which is ultimately considered, yeah.
Also, in a lot of bars, you can order an angel shot, which
Yeah.
is a signal to the bartender that the person.
Yes.
You're worried that that they've either done something to your drink or they're
Right.
going to get violent or you're in a comfortable situation.
Right, and that kind of gives that bartender like a signal to like help and intervene in some way. There's a lot of little things like that. The nail polish one is a really cool one because it's very like covert. And you don't have to draw any attention, but you do have to obviously purchase the product. But the essence with all of these, I mean, it's obviously a violation of your consent. Very common for people in the aftermath of like something like this to have something like PTSD. Okay, now this is like an offshoot of PTSD, rape trauma syndrome. It would be diagnosed as PTSD as the like what like primarily was going on. But or like traumatic sexualization can occur if someone had this happen when they were young, right? The essence is that it affects you long term, right? And this can affect your sexuality later, right? Like I have a friend who, as a teenager, was raped by her boyfriend at gunpoint.
and has since like won't date men. Like she's not necessarily attracted to women, but she doesn't want to be with men because she doesn't trust them. Like it affected her sexuality in a lot of ways, and like has zero sex drive, not because she's not interested, but because she doesn't feel safe, right? And so it can affect your kind of overall sexuality. Yeah.
Like just piggybacking off of what Molly was just saying. One time I was in Scotland actually, on New Year's Eve in Edinburgh, which is like a pretty wild night.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. But,
Yeah.
But I was at this bar, and I went to the bathroom and I saw a poster that was like basically if you are with a date and you feel uncomfortable and you feel like there's a situation that might not be going good, like they have like a code word.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it was cool because they had that like in the bathroom, which I think is like a
Visible.
like subtle place. Because like if someone's feeling uncomfortable, it's probably where they go.
Right, I need a break for a minute. And
Yeah.
you would probably see it there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, yeah.
So I thought that was really.
Yeah.
That was kind of the first time I like knew that like bars like do that. I guess like they like plan for it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a different culture too, where it's more out there, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Well, because they probably deal with it all the time, so they should know how to.
Yeah, no, that's great though, right? That visibility is really nice. Was there another, yeah,
was actually talking to my sister about my sexuality, so she was talking about this. And she said that she used to think she was a lesbian because of her experiences with men. I was like, she used to
Yeah.
behave and like she was a misandrist through and through. And I find that very interesting. Like now, I think now she's like healed from that.
mm-hmm.
But it was very interesting to hear like her experience with moments.
Yeah, it could very much affect your orientation and who you feel safe around and what you feel safe doing. And, which is why consent's so important globally. If you're engaging in like sexuality with someone, like having some kind of conversation of like, what are you up for? Especially in the beginning when you're like first entering into things, like, is there anything I should be aware of? Maybe there are certain like activities or, things that like I had a friend that is more like PTSD, but like I could never touch her from behind, right? Like she was on the police force and had been brutally like attacked from behind. And so if I ever came up behind her and touched her shoulder, it was her trigger, she would freak out. People have triggers, right? Whether they're sexual or otherwise. It's important to be aware of them. The first time I did it to her, she threw me over her knee and nearly broke my wrist. I never did it again after that, right? Like I learned my lesson, but like, it's little things like that. Like she taught me a valuable lesson of like, you never know what people have been through. Like just touching her shoulder was such a like, I needed a cup. We worked at Starbucks together, like when I was in college, and I was like, Nancy, and she had headphones on. I touched her shoulder, just wham on the floor, nearly broke everything, right? So it's important to be aware of people's triggers and ask consent for even little things like that. Touches can be complicated for people, right? Even on the shoulder. Right? Yeah.
I also, I think that rape can also affect a person, not just like their sexual orientation, but
Sure.
also their identity. In general, like I have this friend and, they used to identify as a man, but
Mhm.
then they got raped by a man. And after that, they started identifying as non-binary and
Interesting.
cited that as like the sort of impetus
Mhm.
of them starting to identify.
Okay, yeah, so I like their identity in general, right? Yeah, I mean, it can have the essence of it has long-term lasting effects. Some people are okay and others aren't, and some people require therapy and others don't. And it can affect a lot of different elements of your life. We talked about this last time with the coercive paraphilias. We talked about pedophilia already, so I don't feel like we need to get into it more. But pedophilia is another thing that falls into this category. Again, I feel like we already discussed this, child sexual abuse, even more underreported. Okay, because you have a child who might not understand what happened to them. They might not understand that it was wrong or that it was sexual, or you don't want to get that parent or uncle or whoever in trouble. This can have a lot of long-term consequences for people if it happens young. Very common for children to engage in like sex play with cousins or with friends, like exploratory, kind of like curiosity driven stuff. But like if it goes farther than that with other people or like with a family member or with something that happens that's more, it can very much affect like their guilt and shame and identity as they get older. So again, something we kind of got into last time. One that we haven't talked about yet, sexual harassment. This is a big one, and this one is so, when we talk about the things being blurry, this one is so blurry. Because everybody has a different line of what they're okay with and comfortable with. But sexual harassment, the essence of this is that it's something that like makes the work environment or school environment, some kind of like academic or workplace setting uncomfortable. Right? And it can be two different things. It can be quid pro quo or hostile environment. Quid pro quo is like, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Okay, so you do some sexual favors for me, I'll give you that promotion that you've been wanting, or I'll give you a better schedule, or I'll give you whatever. Like you do X for me, I'll do Y for you. Hostile environment is when it makes the workplace or environment uncomfortable. Now, in the environment, imagine a lot of you work like retail, like kind of jobs or food kind of jobs or things like that, or maybe you have or whatnot. I definitely did my fair share of them when I was younger. You're always taught what about the customer? Like, what are you taught to do with the customer? They're always right. Make them happy. They're always right. Do whatever they want. Do whatever they need. That doesn't always go with this, right? So like, this is something that can get so messy in customer service or like food industry kind of jobs. I have a story for you. So when I was 18, I worked at Yosemite National Park for the summer, like just flipping hamburgers. One of my favorite jobs because like I could go hiking after work. I lived in the park. It was really fun. And I worked at in the village. I flipped hamburgers like all summer. My boss was like the biggest pervert ever. Right? He was like he was like the stereotype too. Really heavy set guy in his 40s. I was 18 at the time, like balding, just like he fit every like oozy stereotype of like what you would picture. Right? I found him funny. It didn't bother me at all. Like he would always say the most inappropriate things, like at work, and I didn't care, and everyone else in there didn't care in the beginning. Right? Like he would like again, I was flipping burgers. He'd say stuff like, "Hey, why don't you get in between there, between the buns and the lettuce?" And like I would look at him and be like, "You're gonna need a much bigger bun for that." Like you know, like I found it funny. Like I was like, "You're barking up the wrong tree in every possible way. I'm not interested in you. I didn't find it threatening. I found it funny." Yeah, and he would make gross comments all the time. Everyone would laugh. And then somebody new came in. And he made the same comment to her. She freaked out, reported him, and he got fired. Right? Which is good. He probably shouldn't have been doing those things at all. But my point with that story is that everybody kind of has their own line.
Yeah.
Like you could have a culture. We had a culture that was probably not very healthy, but I didn't care. I didn't find it threatening. But she found it threatening, reported him instantly, and he was gone. And so I think that's what makes this so hard is like you never know what somebody's line is. And she had every right to be uncomfortable with him. He was oozy. Oozy's the word I'm going to use for him. He was slimy and sleazy, right? But I didn't care. She did, reported, gone. Yeah.
So I'm in this friend group that I recently joined probably like mid-October.
Mm-hmm.
And we immediately start like joking and flirting and being like joking and freaking stuff.
Okay.
And
It's your group culture, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just, and like, I only do it with those friends and I don't do that with my other friends.
Yeah.
So I like, it's very interesting to see like people's different like boundaries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With stuff like that. And I also like, it's even getting to the point where I'm like, are you serious or are you joking?
Mhm.
You guys are being really freaky.
Yeah, even like friend groups have different dynamics, right? Like you're different with different people in your life. You probably would say different things to them than you would say to me, I would hope, right? Like, you know, like it's just that's just how it is. Yeah.
So for me, what I always do is I try and like scope where a person's at. 'Cause
Yeah.
I do love making really inappropriate, like off the wall jokes.
Sure.
But I always make sure that the person's comfortable with it and then like they actually want to do that,
Right.
you know? And, I mean, I feel like I end up making a lot more of those jokes with my guy friends, just because more of them are comfortable with that. But yeah, it's just like, I think it's really important, like, if you wanna say off the wall stuff, that's fine, but you have to just make sure,
Right.
like, it's with someone who's comfortable with that, and if it's not with someone who's comfortable with that, that's fine, like, that's just not where they're at, you can have a different sort of
Yeah,
relationship.
or maybe it's not the environment for it to be said, but it could be said like in a
Yeah.
different environment, right? Like you kind of reading the room,
Mhm.
right? And to be fair, like the girl who came in never asked him to stop. Like I wish, like in retrospect, I wish he had, because I think he would have. Like I'm not defending him, he wasn't a good guy, right? But like I do think that if she had said like, "Hey, you're making me uncomfortable," he would have stopped.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really like that's an important step of like if you want somebody, they're making you uncomfortable, like to say it. But you shouldn't have been saying those things to make her uncomfortable.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
like-
important
I see
to
both sides.
build a rapport with a person before you go.
Yeah, right, like, yeah, he didn't know her at all, to say that to her on day one, super inappropriate.
Yeah, it's like that's. It's like telling someone completely. It's like telling someone like, oh yeah, you know.